All right. Well, welcome to the sixth day of the 17th annual Transforming the Teaching and Learning Environment virtual conference. I'm Bob Hales. I'm your moderator. We have with us Jessica Hill, who's an assistant professor of practice in the general education program at the University of Arizona. Her research interests focus on creativity, leadership, playful pedagogy, and improv comedy. Wow, I love that. While not teaching or talking about leadership, Jessica is a company member with the Tucson Improv Movement, where she's the comedy school director. And Jessica believes most of the important lessons she has learned about life and leadership was acquired while yes-handing, meaning one of the maybe the most fundamental element of improv is yes and then you add to it on the improv stage. So Jessica's talk about it's just more fun developing group creativity through play and improv. Take it away, Jessica.
Really appreciate that introduction because it saves me from having to say anything on this slide. But it does not relieve me from sharing a little bit about what you're seeing up here and disclosing how I got into this interest. So, as Bob mentioned, my day job is that I'm a faculty member at the University of Arizona. And when I was working on my doctorate, I had a different direction in mind. I was thinking about what actually what employers are looking for in new graduates and thinking about different ways that maybe we might be able to support them. Because at the time I was working actually in a career center in kind of the student support side. Um, I wasn't a faculty member quite yet. And I had this epiphany. I was kind of bored with my research and I thought, what if I could research the thing that I have learned the most from, which was my work as an improviser. I had been doing improv comedy at that point in time for almost 10 years, and it had been one of the most transformative things in my life because as an improviser, I had become a really confident communicator. I had learned so much about creativity, how to collaborate, how to be confident, and of course, just how to have fun with myself and with others. And so I thought, well, maybe there's something there. And so I ended up pivoting and wrote my dissertation around this idea of group creativity, and how improv might be a tool in the pocket of educators to help students be more collaborative and more creative. And so that's the thesis statement that I'm going to be proposing to you all is that improv can be a tool that we can use with other pedagogical choices to help our students be more creative and more collaborative in the classroom. So I'm hoping by the end of the session to have convinced you that students have the responsibility to work together. Um, we will discuss a little bit around the idea of group creativity. We'll talk about what it means to get into group flow. We'll define play and playful pedagogy. We'll talk a little bit about what the tenets of improv comedy are, and we'll talk a little bit about what some exercises are that we can use to implement in your classroom. And the piece of paper that I asked you to grab will be used in a little design activity. This session is going to be very interactive. I will hope that you'll be able to all participate a little bit and have fun with that. In the improv world, we never do anything without warming ourselves up first. When we get to the improv studio, we don't just like hop up onto the stage and start doing the make 'em ups. We do a little bit of warming up. And so I'm going to invite you to do a little warm up. If you want to put your mic on mute, that might be best here, just to keep the noise a little quiet. We're going to do a little shakeout here. And so what I'm going to invite you to do is we're going to shake our limbs out. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to shake our right hand first. We're going to count it out, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then our left hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we're going to do our right foot, 1, 2, 3. You won't be able to see it, but I'll know you're doing it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then our left foot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we'll do that again to 7, and then to 6, and then to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just keep pace with me, and we'll be in a good place. I like to make sure that we're all on the same page. So when I say players, are you ready? You're going to give me a super ready, okay? So I won't be able to hear you, but I'll know you're doing it. So players, are you ready? Super ready. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. All right. How are we feeling? Feeling warmed up? All right, I'm going to ask you to unmute actually and just like share like how do you feel after a warm up?
Energized.
Feeling
No, now I
energized.
feel awake.
Feeling awake. Yeah. So normally in a, big room in a classroom, you're noticing some things that might be happening. Your students who might have come into the classroom just scrolling the phone, maybe not talking to each other. You do something like this, they might roll their eyes initially, and they're like, what are we doing? There might be some nervous laughter. And then ultimately there is a loosening up, right? There's like this like letting go of maybe some self-consciousness, and just like feeling a little bit goofier. This is a great thing I do kind of mid-semester with students. I'm going to give you an alternative one. We're not going to do this right now, but a good alternative warm up that I like to do in class, especially like mid-semester, is called, I just call it 1, 2, 3. I get my students into pairs. They count back and forth. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We do that first round, going back and forth a few times. I celebrate them. Good job. They can count to 3. And then I give them a little bit of a challenge. So instead of counting 1, 2, 3, the first time they do is they clap 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Inevitably, they kind of mess it up. They get in their heads a little bit. And I encourage them to celebrate that failure. Like, yes, you messed it up. Then we do it a third time. 3, 3, 3. And they're going back and forth with their partner. So 3, right? So it can be a little bit of an intellectual challenge for them, but it's fun, it's goofy, and it's a good exercise just to celebrate the moment. And this will come into play in a few moments when we talk about the idea of celebrating failure. So remember this, okay? When I talked about the idea of celebrating failures. So warming up. This is goofy. Doesn't have a whole heck of a lot to do with anything yet, but we'll get there, okay? All right, so we're feeling loose. We're feeling warmed up. We're going to take a real a hard left turn into theoretical foundations. Here we go. I know our heads are already hurting. So when I did my dissertation research, 3 main kind of things emerged for me. The first was this idea of group creativity, and one of the things that we know about students is that creative collaboration is a really critical skill for our graduates to learn. Workers right now are spending close to 80% of their days in some kind of collaborative pursuit, whether that's on Zoom or in Teams or in kind of day-to-day interactions. They're collaborating in some way, shape, or form. And so we as educators have like a real responsibility to prepare our students to collaborate. And yet, we see in the classrooms that our students have a real hesitancy to collaborate. When we say group work, they groan, they don't want to do it because they've been burnt or they or they've had negative experiences around collaboration before. And I don't blame them, right? I mean, maybe you've had a negative experience around collaboration. I think we all have had horror stories around that. And so, I'm not going to give a panacea to collaboration in this session, but what I do want for us to be working towards is helping students get into spaces where they are maximizing productive collaboration. And what we can do through play and improv is help get students into the spaces that maximize what we call group flow. So the concepts that you're seeing up on the screen here, the close listening, group flow, or group goals, etc., are the concepts that come out of the research by a notable researcher around group creativity, Keith Sawyer, who defines group creativity as really just groups of individuals collectively generating a creative product. Really, it's not much more than that. But Keith Sawyer is really interested in how do groups do this? How do they come together and produce things kind of out of nowhere? And interestingly and relevant to me, the way that he went about researching productive groups is that he looked at jazz musicians, particularly jazz improvisers and improv comedians. And he looked at these groups and said, what factors were true for these groups that allowed these very creative folks to come together and produce things? And so the concepts that you're seeing up here are what he calls group flow. So you might have heard the idea of flow or like creative flow, that space that you get into when you're really like in the zone, when you're like deeply focused. These are the similar concepts when you are like deeply focused, when a group is deeply focused on their process. They are feeling like they're in deep communication. They're completely concentrating on the task at hand. They have a sense of familiarity with each other. The idea of blending egos is that like I don't know where my idea has started, where Bob's idea has started. They've just like they're starting to blend together. We have a really clear sense of the group goal. We are moving together there's forward momentum. We feel in control of our project together. All of these concepts come into play, and they are closely linked to improv. So I'm going to kind of link back to these things, but they're really interesting and important. And I encourage you to think like how you as an instructor can foster a space that will allow students to get into group flow. How can you set the scene for them to get into a place where they can be really collaborative and creative, and generate things together? And my contention is that that is going to happen if you are setting the scene through play and improv as one way to do it. So dangerously, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes right now. Okay, close your eyes. Thank you. All right, and I want for you to think about yourself as a child. Okay, and I want for you to think about yourself, one of your earliest memories of playing as a kid. What did it look like? Who was there? What did you do? And I'm going to have you fast forward and think about yourself now as an adult. Do you think that you still play? What does play look like for you now? Does it retain any of the similar styles of play from when you were a child? Does it look different? Are there barriers? Okay, you can open your eyes. All right. I know this is a small group here, but I would love to ask you both kind of what came up for you as you were thinking about yourself as a child and now. What does play look like?
Okay, I'll go. As a
Yeah.
kid, I think I was freer. I would so two things came to mind when you asked the question. At home, playing with neighborhood kids, I there was this very strong memory of playing in the mud. I used to love to make mud pies. So I grew up in you can see my background, island. I grew up in an island, Sri Lanka, very rainy. So beautiful and lush and green. And, there was mud around. So when it dried, you could make beautiful little mud cakes. So that was one of my favorite things to do. I'll go to the neighbor's house and play badminton. So that was in the neighborhood. With my cousins, I have distinct memories of going on the swing, playing outside, running around, just having fun, being a kid. As an adult, I guess right now we'll be playing with my grandkids. I have six grandkids.
Oh
Or
my gosh.
if it's not, playing with them, playing for me that feeds my soul more would be I work at Yelp College, so access to lots of exercise classes. One of them is dance. That's something my husband and I are doing together. We're taking a country dance class.
So
So
fun.
a lot of movement and fun and play in that class. Yeah. Or
That's
other
awesome.
like Zumba or whatever. So that's my extent of play as an adult.
Thanks, Suika. How about you, Bob?
Oh, well, for me, the earliest memory I have is, I don't know, I must have been, 4, 5, 6 years old, playing with my friend Henry in the backyard, just tossing a ball around kind of thing, running around. And really, what I do now is about the same thing. I love playing basketball, even in my advanced age. Uh, I when I'm really in the zone, uh, it slows down, and I liken it to ballet. I mean, I can see everybody moving, and it just it just slows everything down. Um, for me, and I've always said, for me, that's my stress reducer. I feel like the stress goes out. I'm really tired at the end, but it's a good tire. So
I love
that's
that.
what I do.
Yes. This moment where you can see like the plays in action. Yeah, and I can see in both of your examples the way that you played as a child linked to how you play now. Similar to me, I remember putting on like productions for my parents. The Little Mermaid was really popular when I was growing up, and we would do like lip sync competitions for my parents, much to their like dismay. They listened to that soundtrack time and time again. And now I understand why they're like, reluctant to come to see my improv shows every single weekend, right? I get it. Um, I became really fascinated with play when a faculty member of mine, when I was working on my dissertation, was said, I think you're missing something in your dissertation. As I told her that I was doing improv, she said, I think you're missing something around play. And I kind of had this moment, this like little backlash moment, being like, what do you mean? I'm studying college students. Like, play doesn't have like it's like I'm not studying K-12 kids, like they're college students. But I quieted that voice and I let my fingers do a little bit of talking and started researching. And as I started to do a little bit of research around play, I recognized that all of the benefits of play as kids are benefits that we can receive as adults. And I love this quote here from researcher Stuart Brown, who is one of the leading play researchers. He says, in play, we can imagine and experience situations we have never encountered before and learn from them. We can create possibilities that have never existed before, but may in the future. We make new cognitive connections that find their way into everyday lives. We can learn lessons and skills without being directly at risk. And so as I, kind of started to do a little bit more digging, I recognized that we were maybe a little bit of hesitant to look into play in higher education for a lot of those reasons that I experienced, right? But when I looked into it, there's a lot of benefits to play and play pedagogy in higher education because some of what we experienced in that earlier warm up is play, right? That feeling maybe a little bit more loose, feeling more comfortable, maybe more engaged. That's play. If we bring that into the classroom, students feel more comfortable in their classrooms, and the research verifies that students feel more comfortable in classrooms that incorporate play compared to those that don't. Playful pedagogy can help motivate students by helping them find joy in learning and social connections forged through the creation of playful environment. There's a lot of connections between play and social construction of learning or social constructivism, right? Play in his immersive experience, which makes us free to make up mistakes, new discoveries, go beyond conventions, and learn through moments of discovery, learn through moments of discomfort. And there's so many really cool ways in which play can be incorporated in class, right? So just the way that we show up as instructors, the playful ways in which we incorporate the playfulness can be one. The connection forming activities that we can bring into classrooms are another, aka icebreakers, but I like to think of them as connection formers. That's the work that they are doing. How we teach, the content that we teach can be another, or even thinking about how classes can be taught. The whole structure of classes can be framed around play. There is a really great example of a law class being structured around Jurassic Park. So the law instructor has the whole class read Jurassic Park, and then they talk about all of the legal ramifications around that class. So, a really interesting way to talk about it. I integrate play in a lot of different ways. Again, just through connection formers, making paper airplanes, it doesn't distract from my teaching. I use it to amplify my learning outcomes. But my teaching, in fact, I was just looking at these yesterday as I was working on my promotion materials. Like that shows up in my course materials is that my class is fun and people feel like they get a lot of connections, both to me and to my students, to each other. Moving ahead, improv is one form of playful pedagogy. There's a lot of other ones. This is the one that I chose to study. Improv can harness the power of play by offering a space for learners to engage in imagination, to make mistakes, and to collaborate with others while doing so in a fun, energetic, and relatively low risk way. There are a few important improv tenets, and you'll notice that these are similar to what we talked about with the group creativity tenets or the group flow concepts. Yes, and this is the golden rule of improv. Yes, and means that we are seeking to form agreement. If we are in a scene together and you come out and say, we're cats, and I'm like, no, we're not. We're elephants. Then let's like deflated the scene, right? There's nowhere to go from that. I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're elephants, right? But if we come out and we're like, we're cats, and I'm like, yes, we are. And I'm like, right, I've got a little hairball. We can like make fun with that and we can build together. You have given me a gift. I build upon that gift. So, yes, and is the idea of seeking agreement and building upon it. My good friend Tina Fey says there are no mistakes, only opportunities. The idea being that if we mess up or the things don't go the way that we were thinking that they were going to go, that we could think on our feet and pivot and make that an opportunity, right? This happens all the time on the improv stage. In fact, this happened in the show that I was in on Friday. I came out, my friend was making this motion like this because he was an owl, and I thought that I was going to be an owl too. But he actually wanted me to be a Supreme Court justice, but I was like this. And so I had to justify that. And that was weird, but that was the opportunity that I was given. So we made the most of it. The other concept is that of ultimate commitment. The idea being that if you're up on stage, you don't want to, you just want to give it your all, right? You don't want to just kind of shy away from it. You want to be committed to the scene. And there's so many tenants, but these are just the four that I'm sharing. The fourth is share the stage. You want to make your scene partners look good. The reason I do improv comedy and not stand up is because I want to be up on stage with other people, sharing the stage with them in an ensemble, so that when they give me a gift, I can return the favor, return the energy, and help them look good. Those are a few improv tenets, and we are going to start putting them into practice. Uh, so I'm going to ask here, I'm just going to like pause this for a second here. We're going to play a game called Plan a Party. And this was where the breakout rooms were going to kind of come into effect here. But there's three of us, so we don't really need to do a breakout room. So I think we'll just do it here. we're going to plan a party. And so Bob and Sueka, we are going to, the two of you are going to go back and forth planning a party. And the way that you're going to do it, the first time, uh, you are going to offer a suggestion and then you're going to say no. So, Bob, you might say to Sueka, we're going to plan a party and I want for there to be elephants. And Sueka, you're going to say, no, I don't want elephants. And then you'll justify why. And then you'll offer a suggestion and Bob, you'll say no. And we'll do this just 2 or 3 times. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay, so Bob, you'll start. Sueka, you go.
I think for a party, it'd be fun to have a fire eater.
No, that could get very dangerous.
Well, no, I mean, it'll be fun. It'll light things up, get people's attention.
No, she said no.
No.
So
Okay,
you don't
so
have
I
to
have to come
justify
up with
it.
something different.
Now, Sueka can come up with a suggestion and you can say no to it.
Let's have a party with a water theme. Water guns, water balloons. It'd be fun and wet.
No. Eh, Yeah, we'll get all wet.
Perfect. Okay, now Bob, do one more. Let's see. Let's see what she says.
I think we get a party with a lot of puppies around. That always is fun.
I prefer kittens.
There we go.
You can cuddle them, they're furrier.
Perfect. Okay. All right. What do we notice? Pretty deflating, right?
Hmm.
Oh,
We're not
yeah.
going to get very far very fast. All right. We're going to do the same exercise. So, okay, you get to go first on this one. And this time, Bob, I want for you to respond with a yes, but. Okay? A yes, but. All right.
Bob, let's have a party just for fun and have lots of color, lots of balloons, lots of games.
Yes, but I think we have to do more than that, like have some jugglers or something like that, or sword swallower.
Yes, and like you said before, we
Oh,
can have some fire
oh, you're getting ahead. You're getting
activity.
ahead of yourself. You're getting
Okay,
ahead.
okay.
Yes, you're just like you want a yes and your instinct is there, but I want you to yes, but.
Yes, but okay. Yes, but what did you say again?
And,
Jugglers.
and sword swallowers.
Oh, that sounds dangerous. Yes, but that sounds dangerous. How about
All right.
something not quite so dangerous?
All right, Bob, put
Oh,
your idea out
yes,
there.
but you know, we can get some insurance. So, if something bad happens, we'll be okay. And we just drag the person outside and keep going.
Ah, but that sounds so convoluted. Paperwork? Insurance? Nah.
Well, yes, okay. So we'll just bypass the insurance. Something happens, we'll just drag them outside. Say we don't even
And
know who that is.
scene. Perfect. Good job. Give yourselves a round of applause. Okay, how is yes budding?
Better than the first one, but you're still budding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot better.
It feels a little encouraging, right? Like you're getting a
Yeah.
yes. Like it feels like maybe there's some forward momentum, but a yes, but is still a
Mhm.
no in disguise, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I've been in many a meeting where I am encountering uh, a no that's disguised
Mhm.
as a yes, but, right? So
Yeah.
we're gonna do it
You
one more
think you have a good
time.
idea and bam, they just stop it.
Bam,
Yeah.
they just tell you no, right? Yeah, it
Yeah.
just stinks, right? For sure. So we're gonna try it one more time with us doing it yes and okay. All right. Yes and. Who wants to start? I don't remember who started. Bob, you'll start. Yes, and you'll start. Give a specific idea, and Sueka, you'll build upon it.
I think we need to have a party and perhaps have activities like a potato bag race.
Ooh, yes, and hopscotch and balloons and water games.
Well, yeah, and add to that, maybe we have a Dixieland band playing as well.
Ooh, I like that. So can we have a space for dancing, for spontaneous dancing if people want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, we could even have a competition, a dancing competition, and give awards.
And
Beautiful.
singing, I like it.
Scene. Love it. Good job. Okay. A party has been created. There's water games. There's a Dixieland band. There is a dance competition. This feels like a party, right? Much different than a yes, but that is a bunch of ideas and constraints, and of course, much different than a no, right? This is a great exercise to practice yes anding. How did it go the third time?
The flow was much better. It felt like a ping pong game. We're going back and forth, back and
Back
forth.
and forth, right?
Yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah, that was much
Yeah,
more fun.
so much fun.
All
And this is
positive.
a right when we get our students into groups, we just like expect that they know how to work together, that they know how to lob ideas off of each other. They don't.
Mm.
We have to build that up. We have to build their capacity to do that. And that is a strategy. This is a great way to do it. Another game that we don't have time to play, but I want to offer forth to those that are watching the recording here or that are here is called one line drawing. The premise being that you give students a piece of paper and you silently ask them to go back and forth, drawing a figure together one line at a time. Line can be straight line, it can be squiggle lined, and it's interesting to see kind of what comes together, right? So they're not talking, they can't discuss what's emerging. This is the idea of group creativity, right? Is that the thing is being created together without maybe knowing who's contributing what. It's the collaborative emergence idea, and blending egos. Something is emerging. And then, kind of, once the figure is created, they can give it a name one letter at a time, kind of going back and forth. And it's really fun to see. At the end, processing it, talking about, did you know kind of what was going on? Were you trying to control the direction? Maybe I thought that it was a flower and, I put an F and then you put a G or but like it took it in a different direction and I had to kind of relinquish control a little bit of the project, right? It can be an interesting conversation to talk about how we give up control and then how we kind of go with the flow a little bit. So that's kind of a fun one. Any questions about kind of what I'm talking about there? I know I'm not showcasing it, but I will give you the instructions on how to run it at the end.
Mhm. The hardest thing I've had at one time had an employee who was very linear in her thinking,
Mhm.
and she often had to solve problems,
Yes.
and she couldn't think about all the possibilities of that
Yeah,
problem. It's like, well, I tried this and it didn't work. Well,
exactly.
why didn't you
And
try that?
students are very much like that, right? Like especially this generation, they're like, I tried the solution that I thought would work. It didn't work. I guess that's
Yeah.
it, right? That this improv can also help with critical thinking and working through a lot of different solutions. And so, these are games, they seem low stakes, but we're building capacity to learn a lot of really important skills, critical thinking being one of them, and to problem solve in a lot of different ways. We're going to play one more game. I think it's a super fun one. All three of us are going to play it together. So if we want to unmute the mic, this game is called Dr. Know-It-All. And we're going to go in this order. We are going to answer a question together. So I'll ask the question and then we're going to answer the question one word at a time. And
Yeah.
we'll go, this is how it's showing up on my screen, but it's Sueka, me, and Bob. So Sueka, you'll go first, then I'll go, and then Bob. Then we'll go back to Sueka, then me, and then Bob. We'll go in that order. Is that okay? And we'll answer the question. And then once we feel like we've answered it, we'll kind of we'll just try to pretend to bow together. I don't know. We'll do our best to try to pretend that our arms are linked because this is how we would do it if we were here together in person. The three of us would have our arms linked and we would bow together when we feel like we've answered the question. So, to get us started, we are here. We are brilliant academics. We're brilliant educators. The question that I'm going to ask us to answer, what is the best way to make a pizza? Sueka, you start. One word.
Uh, the crust needs to be
Just one word. Just
oh,
one word.
crust.
Will. Bob.
Oh, no. Be
Sueka.
Gluten.
Free.
and
I.
Will.
bake
Cauliflower.
Crust.
plus
Add
Pineapple.
and
pizza sauce.
For
20
Of
minutes. Yay! There we go. We'll give it out like that. Let's do one more. We'll try to keep it, we want to keep it, try to flowing. We're trying to create as tight a sentence as possible. I think we did pretty well. It's a little harder when we're, going through the virtual space. I'm pretty proud of us. Let's answer this question. Uh, no, it's almost Valentine's Day here. What's the most romantic way to spend the holiday? Sueka, you start.
purchase.
Something
expensive
Or
cheap
when
it
is
most
convenient
for
me
to
manage.
but
shopping.
Is
not
my favorite. Yay! Good job. That's ripped from the headlines. If ever I've seen one. Perfect. That was really good. Okay. So that's Dr. Know-It-All. That's a super fun one. When your students are feeling maybe a little bit more comfortable with each other, you could have them come up in front of the classroom and perform. It's done three at a time. So this worked out really well for us to have three people performing it three at a time. You ask them a question, they answer it one word at a time. Some good guiding questions at the end are to talk about how did it feel. They talk about maybe I had thought I knew the direction that it was going, and then it took a left turn. I thought I didn't go the direction that I thought it was going. You said something, and it wasn't what I thought you were going to say. It also talks about the power of small contributions. I had to say and or therefore but. And then also the power of big contributions, like I had to say pineapple or a bigger word, right? And that every contribution matters. Any final thoughts about that game?
Um, so I noticed I said pizza sauce, two words. If a student accidentally says more than one word, do you correct or just let them go on?
I said that was a hyphenated pizza
You
sauce in this
smack them.
particular case. There's no mistakes, only opportunity. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. All right, we're going to pivot. I recognize we are starting to draw near to the end. What I wanted to do is move into a little bit of a design studio activity. It'll be a condensed activity, but I wanted to kind of give an idea of another kind of a less improv-y activity, but another good way that you can use improv as the basis for an activity that can help with group creativity. So improv, those activities and those playful activities can be a really great way to loosen students up and to help them develop the mindsets that can help with group creativity. But design studios can be a collaborative venue for participants to co-create a specified project. I use this in my dissertation to help students create something tangible using a design studio approach. So, in the groups that I was working with, I asked them to kind of create a project that answered a question that was relevant to the group. So, for example, I was working with a group of resident assistants. They were concerned about creating community within their halls. So, we had them create a prompt that addressed that question. So, a design studio could be tied to a course assignment. It could be integrated throughout a class period. It could be done in one specific class. It could be used in a lot of different ways to help them address an issue. A design studio requires constant communication and a lot of feedback, which is a really great way to do. I asked you to find a piece of paper. The design activity that I was going to ask you to do is called 8 in 8. So normally you'd have about 8 minutes, and you get your piece of paper and you fold it into 8 squares. So normally you could do it in a lot of different ways. For the purposes of this would be one hot dog fold and one hamburger fold. Gets you 8 folds, right? 4 and 4, or you could do, 8 pieces. And then you would doodle or draw ideas on the pieces of paper. Um, I'm recognizing that we're getting really close on time. So I think I might just kind of tell you about this exercise rather than do it. Uh, the prompt that I would have you do here would be how you might make the classroom more playful. What I would encourage you or your students to do when they're doing an activity like this is to don't no but themselves, to yes and themselves. You often do this individually first, so that you're not getting into a space of group think, right? You're avoiding some of the pitfalls of brainstorming. You're doing a little bit of solo ideation. And then when your students come together, you merge and combine ideas. Some of those steps involve combining ideas. So maybe I would pick some of the best elements of mine and combine them with yours, and we work our ideas together. From there, we decide on what our favorite idea might be. We can then work on a storyboard together. We could seek feedback from our peers, from our instructors, from our faculty members, or in an ideal world, maybe we have a community partner or a business or, someone who has like a real stakeholder in our project, and we're getting feedback from them. And then we iterate on that. We continue to build on the project that we're working on, and we reflect. That was like the world's fastest overview of a design project. There are some really great texts that I'll show you at the very end. Um, But one of the most important steps, I think, in a design project is being able to reflect. And I'm going to show you some prompts that I really like to help reflect on what we just experienced and that you can use with your students to help them reflect on a project, which is like the head, heart, brain, feet, which is the snapshot, like what did we do? What did we just experience? That kind of like sensation piece. The heart, how did it feel? What was the collective mood in the group? obviously the brain piece. We focus on the brain all the time, but there's more to learning than just the cognitive elements to it. And the most relevant, of course, is the application piece. How can you apply this? So that's a really good piece there. This is a quote that came from my research, my dissertation research. This is one of the participants said, we hung out and we played the games and we laughed and we had a good time. And that's important because I think, too, if we hadn't played games, we probably could have gotten the same results with the proposal as we did. It probably would have taken 3 more sessions, though, because we wouldn't have been nearly as connected as we were. So I think group creativity and this improv thing, it just makes everything more fun and efficient. So you don't just have to take my word for it. There's some evidence there. There are some other considerations that I want for you to think about if you're implementing these things, right? I always want for you to be conscious of accessibility when you're implementing improv games. Some improv requires more mobility, so knowing your students and what needs exist with your students are always important to be as inclusive as possible. Being aware of the group dynamics of your groups. Are they hesitant to talk to each other? Is there existing drama? Can you use improv to address those issues? Being aware of playful facilitation. You can't just add improv in if you're not a little bit willing to play the games with your students as well. Maybe you could bring in a local improv troupe, or if you have an improv group on your campus, you could help bring them in as well. I clearly have the benefit of being an improviser myself. I am a pretty playful person myself, so it feels natural in my classroom. If you're not playful yourself, it might feel a little forced. So you want to think about how you can naturally embed this in your classroom. Thinking about psychological safety as well. There are some students who are just not going to feel comfortable doing improv and play no matter how safe and comfortable you try to make the set. So you need to know your students and how you can facilitate these activities no matter what. And of course, it's important to have time to debrief. You can play a game and there's not going to be, without ample time to debrief these games, they might miss the point if you just don't talk about why you did these things. Some recommended readings. These are some great books that I have referenced many, many times. Yes, and it comes from the Second City. The book Group Genius is the book that I referenced from Keith Sawyer, who did the research around group creativity. I love the Professors That Play playbook. There's a lot of really great resources and games that you can implement. The Design Studio method is a good play-by-play on how to implement a design studio. And I've included a lot of those references and readings on this QR code that you can snap and chat right there. And thusly concludes the session. I'll yield my time for any questions that you have. Thank you so much for being willing to play. I really appreciated your willingness.
I'll tell you, this is great. We could go another hour or two. I wish we could.
You
I
know, I
tell
could.
you, oh, for one thing, on my screen over here, I've 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 been trying to find the right AI tool for brainstorming. I being retired, I don't have lots of people around me to do it. And so I've been trying to use AI to help
Mm-hmm.
me brainstorm.
It's a
And
great
then,
tool for that.
yeah, then the other thing is because my mind is crazy, I always, one time I was at a funeral and I was there an hour before where they have the quote viewing. And I had to sit there for an hour before the ceremony started. So my mind kind of wanders, like what kind of funeral would I like to have? And then, that's where the fire eater and the sword swallower come from. We have some dancing, all kinds of fun stuff.
Oh, perfect. So we planned your funeral for you. I
Yeah. Oh, and
two
really,
birds, one
I wrote
stone.
it down, and it's like a page and a half of fun things. That's what I want, because otherwise it's so sad when you're there.
Well,
Be cremated, and you got the box up there, but you have a fake hand coming out of the
mm.
box. That kind of stuff. So anyway, hey, thanks for doing this. If I ever get to Tucson, I'll look you up.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. And I missed what college you were from again, Sueko.
Oh, Yavapai College in Prescott.
In Prescott. Okay, so you're just up the road.
From Tucson? Yeah. 3 and a half
Yeah.
hours north? Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
Arizona, definitely. Yes.
Excellent. Well,
It's still
hey,
cold up here today.
yeah, well, it's cold here too, it's
Yeah.
76.
So,
Yeah.
one quick thing. Were you in Sri Lanka in 2014 with the
Nope.
tsunami?
Nope. Thank
Oh, okay,
goodness. But
good.
we did lose. I knew people that lost their lives, so
Hmm.
that was kind of
Yeah, I've
sad.
seen some documentaries
Yeah.
recently on it. It's amazing, scary.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Just
stop.
your slides